Hi, I'm Dave Gardy from Maritime TV from our studios near Washington, D.C. for this 9th Ballast Water Treatment Report. And we have the honor of actually having Steve Candito in our studio today, the CEO of EcoChlor. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Oh, good to see you, Dave, and
Thanks
good to be here in person.
Coming out to Chantilly, Virginia from D.C., not an easy trek. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the MEPC chronology and some of the things that have been happening relative to the practical implications for testing and things like that. Give us an overview, and this came out of that BW Tech conference. What's really going on, and give us a little bit of background on it.
Yeah, so this, I think, took some in the industry a little bit by surprise, and it did come out during this conference last week that the IMO has already made the decision that some testing needs to be done of the efficacy of these systems when they're installed on board ships, even though the system already has either a Coast Guard approval or an IMO approval. And so, yeah, the industry, they're certainly aware that they've been discussing these things, and I guess maybe they got a little confused because there have been some discussions about how detailed the test has to be, and that led some people to conclude that, well, maybe that doesn't mean we have to test at all, but it's pretty clear they need to test.
And what's been the history of this in terms of how it evolved?
Well, that's it. So the decision was actually made back in November of 2016. The IMO at one of their MEPC committee meetings said, no, when those systems are installed, even though it's got a type approval, we want to have some testing done at the installation. And then the conversation was back in July of 2017, well, what kind of testing should it be? And then in May of 2018, they got into some more details about what the testing should be. And now here we are next week, you're going to have MEPC 73, and we're expecting to have some firm information on how detailed that testing has to be. Does it have to be a detailed test, which can get very expensive and can take quite a bit of time, let's say a week or so, or can it be something simpler, more of an indicative test, which just kind of is sort of a pass-fail thing, and that's what's really not clear, and hopefully we'll get some better guidance on that after next week.
So what are the practical implications of all this? People can't really decide what the process is. What are the implications?
Well, so one of the first things that I think owners need to understand is that when you're doing your refit now is you should make arrangements to have a sampling port. That's not necessarily in all the designs because people didn't realize that you were going to need to do this testing, right at the first installation. So that's certainly one of the ones. And then it's back to some of what I've already alluded to is, is it going to be a detailed test? Is it going to be an indicative test? If it is a detailed test, those costs can run into the tens of thousands of dollars. So that's a real implication for the owners that'll have to look at this. And I mean, I guess there is some question on who's going to really perform the test, but I think that'll be an easy decision for the regulators to say, no, that responsibility is on the owner of the system.
So what do you recommend ship owners do in this situation, and how does it relate to your recent announcement about EcoCare?
Right. Well, this kind of plays right into our EcoCare announcement because the guidance previously, and I think it is still in effect in your normal operations, is that the Coast Guard specifically would not do any testing for, let's say, the next year or 18 months or so. They would do checks. They would make sure you filled out your logbooks, that you were running the system, but we weren't expecting testing so soon. And of course, the EcoCare program is a guarantee that you're going to pass those tests. So, those manufacturers that may be hesitating a little bit about why we're doing testing, EcoChlor has no hesitancy there at all. We know our system works. It works in any type of water, whether it's fresh water or salt water or dirty water, clean water, hot, cold, salt, fresh. So we welcome the testing, and we've got no problem doing it when the system's installed or when it's done during operations. And we're going to stand behind that with our guarantee that if that ship gets held up, that's going to be our responsibility, not the owners. But we're confident that's just not going to happen.
And brief overview, how does the EcoCare system work?
Well, so it's part of our normal package. There's no extra cost to it. It's actually backed by an insurance product that, because in addition to making sure that you're not going to fail the test, if you did and there were some costs like off-hire fees or some kind of penalties, there's up to $1 million guarantee that EcoChlor will reimburse the owner if anything like that happens, and there's an insurance product behind us to support that.
Interesting. Well, thanks a lot for coming out for this number 9 in Ballast Water Treatment Report with Steve Candito and EchoChlor. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dave.
And testing, quite an interesting issue there. Dave Gardy here from Maritime TV from our studios near Washington, D.C. for this Ballast Water Treatment Report number 9. Thanks for joining us.